What's up everyone, it's Karthik with MoneyVest. Welcome on board for our Market Open live stream. Coming online here just for a little bit to take any questions. Palantir is rocketing higher. It's up over it's actually up over 7%, trading back over $172. HIMS is also recovering a little bit here pre-market. It is now down only 11%, and it is pushing right back to over $56 here pre-market. So thank you so much for joining, everyone. Really appreciate it. Welcome. And pre-market, we are slightly down on Nvidia and Tesla. QQQs and SPY are about as flat as it gets. We got S&P 500 up over 6 basis points. I got QQQs up over 24 basis points as well. So welcome, happy Tuesday, and hope you all are doing great in the month of August so far. The S&P 500 is slightly down about 0.15% or about 15 basis points, which is again more or less flat so far this month. So let's see. We got Santiago, we got Jimmy, Ezekrek, Lucky, Noam, Santiago again, Mario. Welcome everybody. Julian, welcome. So glad to have you guys on board. Again, if you have any questions, any specific analysis you'd like me to do, I'm more than happy to go over the technicals for those stocks or ETFs or commodities, or share any kind of insights on on the markets or economy. So good morning everyone. Yes, I'm in India right now, so doing my best, doing the best I can with the time zone difference, and then also with the late nights and the earnings and everything. I'm actually planning, it's not confirmed yet, but I'm planning a trip to Sydney later this month. So I'm planning five days to about a week in Australia for later this month. I haven't confirmed it yet. I'm still trying to decide because I do need to go to New York in September, and then of course I do have to go to Dubai at the end of this month as well. So I'm trying to figure out, it would be better to either fly to Sydney right now, then go to Dubai, then go to New York, or go to Dubai first, then go to Sydney, and then literally go from Sydney to New York. But that would be a very, very, very long flight. I was looking at the Qantas Airways Sydney to JFK is like, it's gonna do a pit stop in LA or something, but it's gonna literally fly over the South and the North Pacific Ocean. It's going to be like a 16-hour, 17-hour flight, which is going to be insane. So I haven't decided yet, but we can definitely do a little bit of a meetup in these places if you are going to be around. But yeah, good morning everyone. So which place? I am in Delhi right now. So Delhi is where I'm at. What about Amazon? Any chance of recovering or falling? Got a huge position long at 211 leveraged. Well, first things first, I would stay away from leverage. It's something that we don't necessarily use in our community because, leverage absolutely could make or break your portfolio long term. And the interesting thing is that investors use leverage when they least need it. And when we need it the most, or when we want to use it the most, that's when people don't use it at all. In fact, they're running from the market. So in terms of Amazon, you've got 211, you're kind of break even at this point. I've got a support at $206, $207. That's the next target that I have on Amazon. It's starting to fall down from this rising wedge. I am still pretty confident, optimistic on Amazon long term, but this is a little bit of a gap that it's left after the earnings. And I've got a very strong support at 206, 207 for Amazon right now. So yes, we'll take a look at Lululemon as well. I think the average August-September volatility plus president's second term means UVIX is a logical buy. I would just be careful with these volatility plays. Yes, you can get a cheap trade out of it. And if you are going to be looking at these volatility plays, I wouldn't necessarily look at the buy and hold approach. I wouldn't necessarily go in with actual shares, but instead, cheap calls could be a potential idea for this. Why? Because you're essentially defining your max loss. You're also doing that with the shares, but it becomes more painful with actually owning the shares as opposed to going with an options on UVIX or any kind of volatility plays on these kind of ETFs. So what happened to Vertex? Vertex was also supposed to report earnings. It is down quite a bit, 13.5%, even after beating earnings and revenue as well. And I've got the support right here around 393, 394 for Vertex Pharmaceutical. It is definitely one of the best biotech companies out there, based out of Boston. I have invested in this stock before back in 2022. In fact, it saved my portfolio back in 2022 because it was one of the best performing stocks during the bear market of 2022. But yes, right now, absolutely getting crushed, 13.5% with a huge gap down, and a support level is going to step at 392, 393 for Vertex Pharmaceutical. Advanced Micro Devices is also reporting earnings. We'll take a look at that in just a minute. But let me just go over some of the comments here. What's the time over there? It's about 6:50 p.m., almost 7 p.m. 7 p.m. is when the markets open here in India. If you are trading the US markets, New York markets, and then if I'm in Dubai, markets open around 5:30 p.m. So different time zones, obviously creating a bit of a challenge if you are trading New York markets. I'm very much convinced that the London time zone is perhaps the best time zone. Because you're able to trade almost every market if you are in the London time zone or Zurich or like in that European time zone. If you're in that nice sweet spot, you're able to trade almost all sessions, whether it's markets over in Asia, India, China, Hong Kong, or markets over in Europe, London, Germany, or the New York session that opens around 3 p.m. London time and goes all the way across to 9:30 p.m. In the evening, right at night. So that's the ideal time zone. If you are a full-time, full-on trader, investor, that would be the ideal time to be in. Because I remember when I was in Zurich, I remember when I was in London, best time zones. You can pretty much look at all markets, global markets. But yeah, not everyone has the liberty to be there. So, okay, the BLS is pissing me off. How much weight does anyone give for them? The person in charge has been obviously fired. Thoughts? So yeah, I mean, those reports are becoming less and less relevant, I feel, because again, we're just getting so many revisions, so many downgrades and upgrades from the previous reports that it's just losing its actual relevance and purpose. And I think the markets care more about tariffs. Well, they don't care as much about tariffs as they did before, because we all understand that eventually there are going to be deals which are going to drive down these tariff rates eventually. But I think the most important piece has been earnings. And there is a little bit of froth in this market. I know Tom Lee says there's no froth. The markets have more upside and there's not going to be any August seasonality, or in other words, markets are going to hit a new all-time high in August is what he said. But I do believe there is froth in this market. I mean, Nvidia's, obviously trading at over 4.3, 4.4 trillion, but you've got Palantir right now ready to open at a $400 billion plus market cap with the price to sales multiple over 100. I mean, if that's not froth, I don't know what is, in this market environment. And I'm a big advocate for Palantir long term. I think it can get up to $1 trillion market cap, but investors are certainly very optimistic, very bullish, and very greedy on a lot of these select names. And there doesn't seem to be a lot of caution in this market environment. I mean, I really don't know who's buying Palantir at 170 right now. But yeah, I mean, that's market cycles. And Howard Marks is one of the greatest teachers of these market cycles. In fact, I posted a video on our Patreon, the investing philosophy and the successful traits, and why this investing strategy always wins. And I went over my core investing philosophy distilled from my 4 mentors, which is Warren Buffett, Peter Lynch, Howard Marks, and Morgan Housel. And I also share a PDF. I talk about why this investing strategy will always win long term and will build generational wealth for you and your family and your future offspring. So I highly recommend for anybody who hasn't checked out that video, because it's going to really be a shift in the overall mindset around investing and why defensive investing is the way to go. Why by being conservative, you are really positioning yourself for long-term success. And that's really what it comes down to at the end of the day. Okay. Yeah, Tesla getting sued. Just read about shareholders suing on robotaxi claims. I mean, what's new? Tesla is always in the news, is always going through something or the other. Let's take a look at Lululemon, and we'll talk about a few other names. You got AMD reporting earnings. We'll talk about that in just a minute. And let's see, anything else that I missed? Lululemon, NVTS for Merlo. So we'll go over that very quickly. So NVTS. Navitas Semiconductor gapping down a little bit over 21% on a miss on both earnings and revenue. Support level looks like we've got around 575, all the way down to as low as 470, 480. We do still have a massive gap from before May 21st that Navitas has not really filled in. So this is the huge gap from $2 all the way up to almost $4, over $4. That this company hasn't really filled in terms of that gap here, and support level is going to stay put at 575 all the way down to 470 for this stock as well. Lululemon, very quickly, it continues its slide lower, and the next support that I have on this stock unfortunately sits around 165.50. Yes, it's incredibly oversold. Yes, there's a possibility for a dead cat bounce, a little bit of a technical rebound, but 165.50 is going to be that next support level to watch. And it's really important to kind of read into the technicals as well, because if the overall technicals are incredibly weak, they are very poor, it doesn't matter if the company is performing well fundamentally or if it's executing well, the stock doesn't seem to go anywhere. I think UNH is a great example. Lululemon is a great example. Even Enphase, although Enphase has obviously dealt with its own fundamental issues with the revenues coming down, earnings coming down, in fact, turning into a loss-making company for a very brief couple quarters. But the technicals are very much unfavorable. And that's why when you have this holistic approach of having a fundamental as well as a technical understanding, you can avoid some of the stocks that are not performing versus the ones that are indeed performing. Like, for example, Palantir. Despite how overbought or overexpensive the stock becomes, because the trend is in your favor, it continues to perform really well. And of course, that is true until it's not. Eventually, we will see some kind of shifts in the overall trend. We will see some reversals along the way. We just have to be aware of when those start to appear, when they're actually happening in real time. And a great example of that is going to be lower highs, lower lows, when there's actual pattern weakness. And you combine that with fundamental weakness, and there you have a stock you want to avoid, as opposed to a stock that you want to double down, triple down on. So, so those are my two thoughts. UNH, falling knife. Chente says, I agree. So is Lululemon, so is Enphase. So, fundamental as well as technical is very, very important in our understanding of the markets and individual stocks overall. Okay, Exelis, quite a few people mentioning this name, up over 12.8, almost 13%. This is a stock that I have done some analysis on. It is, again, fundamentally a strong company. Quarter over quarter is indeed struggling a little bit, but looks like earnings and revenue both came in with a strong beat here, and it is pushing right back up. We're going to turn this level into a support after the open at around $77, $78 for Exelis. So very strong momentum higher, back over $80, and I would put down a next target around $95, $96 per share for this stock moving forward. And this is exactly what I'm talking about in terms of the overall trend shifting for a stock. This was a lower high, lower low pattern stock here. And then eventually what happened, of course, is that it started making these higher highs and higher lows. It is actually making these higher highs, right? So higher lows also coming in pretty strong. And that is when you can recognize those technical shifts in individual stocks to start to take advantage of those opportunities. Okay, ASML. Yes, ASML will also take a look at, and Adobe and AMD as well. So we got lots of stocks to look into. Advanced Micro Device I'm going to go over first because they are reporting earnings later today. So AMD. This is the analysis. By the way, the markets are open now. Palantir, fresh, new all-time high. Market cap sitting at over $405 billion. Huge congratulations to everybody. In fact, you know what? We're going to do a quick poll asking if you actually own AMD or not. Palantir. Do you own Palantir stock? So let's just do a poll so we have an idea, we have an understanding of how many people to congratulate in the chat. So participate and let us know if you've got a position in Palantir. Huge congratulations. $405 billion in market cap. I mean, that is incredible. That is absolutely incredible because it's not just the fact that it's at 400 billion, it's the fact that where it was just a couple of years ago is what matters most, and the level of execution we've seen from Alex Karp and the team has also been phenomenal, right? Worth applauding, absolutely commendable. And I remember, we used to talk a lot about Palantir, Neo, Tesla in those same videos like 4 years ago, 5 years ago, back in 2020, 2021. All the OG subscribers and members would remember that. Back when it was at like $6, $7, $8, $9, $10, 11, 12. I mean, this has just been a journey, which is crazy. It's almost getting to a point where it could actually be thinking about doing a stock split at 173, 174. Just don't breach 200 Palantir before the end of this year. Otherwise, my calls will be in the money. One of them already is at 150, so I'm going to have to plan to roll that out very soon. But yeah, absolutely incredible. Julian says, Palantir is Bitcoin. It's always good to buy. GL says, yes, I own Palantir. 1,000 shares at 21. Julian says, absolutely incredible. I thought he was going to do a quick shot. Yeah, market just opened. So here we go. 410 billion for Palantir. 174.56, almost at 175 right now. Tesla is dumping. It's in the low 300s now, and so is Nvidia. Seems like a lot of liquidity getting sucked out of these companies and going towards Palantir. I mean, it is going to be insane if Palantir actually takes out Tesla in terms of market cap. It's going to take a while. Both have to happen. Tesla has to come down and Palantir has to go up at the same time. But it would be quite crazy if Palantir were to pass Tesla in terms of market cap. But yeah, there we go. 175 now. 176. 9% higher. And let's see in our chat, we've got quite a bit of a split. We got 82 votes. 49% say that they own Palantir stock. 51% they don't. They don't. That is quite the pull here. I was actually thinking it was going to be overwhelmingly higher in terms of the people who own Palantir stock, but nonetheless, still, I think a lot of people have traded it on the way up as opposed to keeping the shares. So yeah, so there we have it. Let's just quickly go over to Advanced Micro Devices. For AMD, it's still within the context of this uptrend, and we talked about the the biases from the options chain in my previous videos for HIMS and Palantir, and the markets were expecting a rip on Palantir and a flop on HIMS, and that's exactly what happened. HIMS sold off, Palantir ripped, and let's take a look at what the market is pricing in for AMD. So AMD, this is going to be the options activity. If you come over to the options charts, we are looking at a huge amount of calls for Advanced Micro Devices. So this is, once again, very similar to Palantir. 0.6 is the put call ratio. You'll notice the call options 166,000, way more than the number of put options that are open at 100,000. And the most amount of volume, the maximum volume coming in at the 190 call on AMD. There's almost 20,000 contracts at 190. And then you've got 18,000 contracts at 200, 17,000 contracts at 180, and 16,600 contracts at 185. So anything between 180 and 200 is where we have combined, just doing some mental math here, 38 plus 32, 60, 70,000. So of those 166,000 open interest call options, 70,000 plus are just between 180 and 200, and that's where the majority of that volume is. So this is clearly a net bullish bias for AMD. And then we'll just take a look at, see if this pops up. And yeah, HIMS here down about 12%. Palantir also seeing some profit taking, but all right, let's see here. Okay, so the implied move for this Friday, we're looking at around 7.6%, almost 190 on the upper range, 162 on the lower range for Advanced Micro Devices, with about 102% implied volatility, of course, because the market's expecting a pretty big move. And And yeah, 180 to 190 or close to $200 is where maximum of those call options are currently in terms of open interest. So yeah, that's where we are. S&P 500 basically flat right now. We got the NASDAQ also flat. So yeah, 0.0%. So seems to be a pretty uneventful open for the market here, as we got a little bit of a mix. Amazon is indeed pushing higher a little bit back up to that resistance. Usually after a breakdown, we do get those retests to then see whether we continue on that sell-off or are we going to break back above this area of resistance. So yeah, any questions, let me know, everyone. More than happy to answer for a couple more minutes before I go back to the Discord and start the trading day, because I do have to look at my HIMS calls after this sell-off, and then I also have to look at my Palantir 150 call option, and we'll also look at my Ether trade as well, because Ether is something that I'm also trading right now. So yeah, those HIMS calls are up 40% right now. So 40%, $65 call, since that's back out of the money. Anything over 90% is what I'm going to be planning to close. My $66 BITX call is up 40%. And then Tesla calls are up 18 and 29%. I've got the Nvidia call as well. And yeah, overall, gotta manage this portfolio. I might actually sell Oscar calls too. I haven't sold them yet, but I'm waiting for a pretty decent green day in order to do that. So, all right, everyone. So thank you so much for joining. Again, if you want real-time updates and alerts on our Discord, link's going to be down below if you're interested in joining us. You get access to everything, the MoneyVest Index, our trade alerts, members-only updates, portfolio updates, everything is going to be available. And we're doing like a complete redesign. I was on a 1-hour call today with SIBO, the Chicago Board of Options Exchange, and we're adding them as a potential partner to include volatility and a lot of other volatility measures, the VIX measures, the percentiles. All of that is going to be eventually available on our MoneyVest dashboard. So on the market over here, it's going to turn into a MoneyVest dashboard where you'll be able to see like a bird's eye view of everything: the market seasonality, volatility metrics, market breadth, market technicals, valuations, so fundamental technicals, and all out of the box creative solutions and data sets that you cannot find anywhere else, nowhere else. I've scoured the market in terms of trying to find something like this, but we're building all of this from scratch. All these models and data sets will be available to everyone. So link's going to be down below if you're interested in joining. Again, I will be providing some technical analysis on ASML and AMD and Adobe as well. But make sure that you drop a like, subscribe to the channel. Any questions, email me at admin@moneyvest.com. If you want to set up a call with me, free Zoom call I'm offering, email me at admin@moneyvest.com, and I'm more than happy to jump on a Zoom call with you. So once again, thank you so much for joining. Happy investing.